Unlocking the Success DNA, Lyndall Douglas Global Ministries. He is a financial planner for over 20 years. He also has a bestseller book on Amazon. It's called Five Steps to Financial Freedom. It's a biblical guide.
Success is already coded in our DNA. We just need to unlock it.
And with me today is Lyndall Douglas, founder of Lyndall Douglas Global Ministries.
Therefore, rather than seeing the other person as your competitor, look for the synergy that you can. Surely, if the business depends upon you to run, and if you are not there one day, the business closed down, you really have a hard time. An entrepreneur is a person who creates a system. The business is a system that can run without you. No.
Hi, welcome back to our Success DNA chat session. So Linda, before we went off, you were telling us how you started business at a very tender age. You started selling bottles until you became the official entrepreneur with your travel agency. What were some of the successes and failures?
Well, that travel agency taught me a lot, right? Because it's for the first time. Remember, before I would just, get some bottles, sell them, make a profit. So it was easy, I would basically raise the fish, sell them to the, feed them, take care of them, sell them to the pet store, make a profit. Then with the jewelry business, I'll buy the gold, get the order, get a deposit, pay the jeweler, get it done, and then sell it to deliver it to the customer, get it, make a profit. The travel agency is different discipline. So what happened now is that I have a brick and mortar. So I had rent, I had staff, I had electric, I had phone, and I had all of these expenses, and I didn't have a core. I didn't have diversification of services. So what happened, the travel agency became an instant success because the church I was going, the pastor did something for me that he has never done for anyone before, and he made an announcement, everybody started coming. So then I had customer, right? But what happened to me with the travel agency was, this was right then 1991 came around, we got the Gulf War. So everybody was canceling their travel plans. The Gulf War was in the Middle East and they're going to the Caribbean and they don't want to go. They canceled.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I find myself now in a point where I was giving all of these refunds. The agency wasn't making any money and I had a staff of 4, I had rent of it. So this continued for a while and then I was like, whoa, what am I going to do? Because I have a payroll to meet every week. And I got myself into, I would say, my first failure in business. And my rent was 3 months behind, sometimes I couldn't meet payroll, and I was struggling. But I've learned a lot.
Yeah, so I'm sure out of that success, you've learned a lot. What was
that failure I learned? So pretty much I've learned that one is my core business was leisure market. So I've learned, okay, I need to have some diversification of business. So what I started to do was I went corporate and I got some corporate accounts and now I had corporate people who must travel and they travel and they pay and they buy, they don't buy the restrictive ticket. So they buy what they call the white class or the class that is no restriction. So they buy the most expensive ticket. So I did that, then I started to do groups, then I started to plan trips and have people come, then I started to do domestic travel, planning trips within the US. So I've learned that I can't just focus on one core set of business. In my business, I have to diversify my business. And I've also learned that, okay, during that time, I had to go out and go tempt and look for different ways to make money, and my agency must learn to run without me. So I've learned to set up a system to let my business run even if I'm not there. So it has taught me a lot, and from that I was able to develop some core discipline.
What were some of those core disciplines?
So I just mentioned, so one is I know that I have to create a system and a process. I also know that I have to diversify my product and my service line, right? So I'm not dependent on just one thing, and I need to have diversified income stream. I can't just depend on one income stream, right? And that's what I've learned from, and quite a few others. I mean, I could sit here and write a book on what I've learned from the failure, of the travel agency. And then what I had to do was, because a lot of travel agents was having the same thing, I pulled up with another agency, moved my office, and we share space. So we're cutting down on costs. And this was a Jewish lady who had a different clientele from my clientele, and I've learned to work with persons that are different from me, have different beliefs. So there's so much that I've learned in that one experience.
I was just about to say, when you said you were teaming up with another travel agency, that's like teaming up with your competitors.
Yes.
People would wonder, why would you do that?
Okay, all right, but you notice, right? If we understand this, this is what I learned from all of this also, right? Is that on a street, you'll have a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Burger King, right? Everybody has their preferences, what they want. All of those business does well. One might have a little bit more sale than the other. So even though they're competitor, right, they balance the ecosystem. So a Jewish travel agency, right, she has her customer that are core Jewish people, that they understand her. I had a black travel agency with Jamaicans, Black Americans, some Spanish people. I didn't have the Jewish market. We had a different market, and it was a personal business. So because of the service I was giving, they were coming to me, right? So therefore I could work with her in the same building because we serve a different clientele. And even if every single Jamaican or black person in Hartford came to my agency, I did not have the capacity to serve them all. So therefore, you can't see a market as if, okay, I can't work with anybody else who are in the same business, because you don't have the capacity to serve if everybody was coming to you. So even though the persons are your competitor, you have synergy with them that you have to look to see how you can work together.
Well, that's a critical point that you just raised. So from your travel agency, help me to understand, what was your next move in terms of your business success and failures?
Right, so the travel agency got to the point where I had a tour company in Jamaica, and that was doing well, and I've learned so much from the travel agency that I had, because I had the one in Connecticut and one in Jamaica. I learned so much to set up something there. Is that I had a core business. I know, okay, my core business, my domestic market pays my overhead, and then my international business and my tours and my Israel tours and all these things, those are considered my profit, right? So I set my business up where I know, okay, you know what, this core thing here, unless something's happened to the local economy, this is what's going to pay my my overhead, and I run my business with that practical aspect. And I had a system set up where I treat my clients in such a way that when I left Jamaica, I was able to sell that because it was scalable. I had something where somebody could come in, they could say, oh wait, you have a nice little system here, I can buy this from you. So now I set it up where it can operate independent of me, and somebody can see a value to pay me for, right?
Okay.
And that's how I run all my business from there going forward, is that I make sure that whatever business I have, it can be sold, right? And it can be run independent of me. If the business depends on me to wash the dishes, be the cashier, clean the floor, bake the pizza, and if I'm not there one day, nothing happened, I don't have a business, I have a hobby.
That's a good point. What would you tell yourself now? What would you say to your 12-year-old self when you just entered business? With the knowledge and wisdom that you have now, what advice would you give to your 12-year-old self? And even what advice would you give to some of our viewers who are thinking about starting a business, or those who actually have a business now and they're perhaps not sure which path they should go or what the next move is? What advice would you give?
I think one of the things we get caught up into is our scale, right? So I see this a lot with small business. It's, for instance, if I'm very skillful in cooking, right? I believe I can run a business, but skill does not equal good business sense. Because I can be the best chef, but if I can't create a system, it's like the culture we grew up into, right? So you grew up, you see your mom making certain things. We don't measure out anything, right? So basically we say, okay, let's get some chicken, we sprinkle some seasoning, pinch of salt, we put some, so it's not measurable. Because it's not measurable, it's not skill. You've got to get things where it's automated, where you say, okay, you know what? The formula that I use to create this particular product, I have it written down. I use a half stick of butter, I use X number onion, I use exactly. So you basically have a recipe, and because you have a recipe, you now have something that someone can, because over time, right? You may refine it, because what happened is that the first time you do, you say, well, the taste wasn't so right, but if I add a little bit more of this, and now you have that, you can pass this down to this generation, to the next generation, or you can sell it. Also, you need to learn business principle, because I could be very skillful at a particular discipline, a baker, a financial advisor, but if I don't have business savvy, if I don't because every single person, every job that you're doing, somebody is highly successful at that job. And you're wondering, why is it that, I am at the bottom of the totem pole here? Why is it that there's some person who's a realtor, they're making $10 million a year, and I can barely make 30,000, right? The difference is that they have a process. They have a success principle that they're following, right? And if you don't have a principle, if you don't have a blueprint of this is how I'm going to run my business, and you follow that consistently, right? And you basically implement that, that's different from having skill. Because skill alone won't make your business successful. It won't take you to the height that you need to go to. You need skill, you need the principles, right? So I call it, you need your system and your structure. And your system and your structure plus your skill is going to help you to get off the ground. And then there's several other things that you need. That's why you should be constantly learning. No matter how good you think you are, learn more, learn more, learn more.
There's always a better way to do it.
There's always a better way, right? And until you're 10 times better than your competition, because somebody's out there every day looking to eat your lunch.
Yeah.
And you've got to wake up every day and says, listen, I am going to be better. I'm going to be the best at this, because nobody's going to eat my lunch.
That's true. Well, oh my gosh, I could sit here and talk forever. You've given us some great nuggets of information. My key takeaway from this discussion is that sometimes failures can actually catapult you into your next greatest achievement. And it's not skill alone you need. You definitely need the business savvy. You definitely need systems and processes in place to set you up for success. It was good talking to you today, my friend. Thank you so much.
Same here. We can learn so much from our failures. Sometimes we learn more from our failures
than our successes.
That's
true. That's true.
And it's for us not to, for you to get from where you are to where you're going, sometimes you don't walk a straight line. But you have the curvy, and you're learning, and by the time you can basically teach the next generation. And that's what we're supposed to do, is to take from all our failures, from all our successes, and create a blueprint to help others coming up.
That's so important. Pay it back, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, that's another Success DNA Chit Chat. Catch you on the next one.
So if you take the principle, you bring it to God, He says, give me idea, give me my daily bread, show me how I can transform this, show me how I can supernaturally transform this for what you have called me to do. He will. And then you'll be 10 times better in that field.